And we are back. The next day, Marcus learns of Giordano's death, and at this point, feeling like he's going mad from not learning anything and people around him dying, he fears for his and Gianna's life, so they plan to flee the country to Lebanon, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so Gianna says, I'm going to go home and pack, and I will see you very soon. And as she leaves, Marcus, who is looking at the photo of the house, sees that actually on the side of the building there's a window that he didn't see when he was there in person the day before.
Right.
So he decides he's going to return to the house to investigate. But before he leaves, he puts a note on the door for Gianna, basically saying where his location is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always a good thing to do when you're about to be murdered by somebody.
That's true, but at least there's a bread trail leading so people can find you.
Where the murderer
At the very least. So he returns to the house in the middle of the night and discovers a walled-off room inside. And in the middle of the room, he sees a desiccated corpse, which has been there for however long it's been.
Yeah.
And as he's backing away in horror, he's knocked unconscious. He then wakes up, however many hours later, but that same evening, and he wakes up to Gianna over him, and the house is on fire. They go to the caretaker's house so that they can call the police and say what's happened. And the caretaker, who has a daughter that we've been introduced to, but is not important until this point, is in her room, and Marcus, just happening to look to the side to see her inside her room, sees that she's drawn a picture identical to the mural that he saw in the house. So in a frenzy, he demands her to tell him basically why she's drawn this drawing, where she's seen it before, and so she explains that she's seen the drawing in the archives of her school. That evening, Marcus and Gianna break into their local school, and they find the drawing in a schoolboy's record. And when Gianna leaves to call the police, she is stabbed from the shadows. Okay. Hearing there's been a ruckus, Marcus finds her still alive, and hears the killer trying to leave, so he corners the killer and learns that the killer was Carlo, because as a child he drew the disturbing pictures.
Right.
And Carlo, basically pointing a gun, says, I told you to get out of town and stop this investigation, but you were too fucking stubborn. Because Gianna had rang the police before she was stabbed, the police were able to get to the scene before anyone else is killed. And Carlo, fleeing the scene from the police, runs into the road without thinking and is struck by a garbage truck. And to add to that, because there's bits of like wiring and rebar sticking out the back, as he is struck by it, his leg gets caught and he's dragged down several blocks. And the people in the truck don't know that that's happened because it's two people talking to each other. And so they're going past streets and he's hitting his head on the sides of the road, on the curbs. And when eventually he gets uncoupled from the wiring and is basically laying dying in the road, and an upcoming car comes and crushes his head. And that's how he dies.
What an unceremonious way to kill your murderer for your movie.
Yeah. And so the next morning, it cuts Marcus at the hospital, and a doctor comes through to tell him that Gianna will be okay. And he's like, okay, thank God. And it shows Marcus walking home past the same place that him and Carla were speaking to each other at the beginning of the movie. And he has a moment where Marcus says, Carlo can't have been the killer because we were talking during the evening that Helga was murdered. So he can't have been in two places at once. And also, we don't know about the mystery of this missing painting. That's still unsolved. So Marcus returns to Helga's apartment, which the police have come and gone, and he goes to the corridor where the painting was. And this is where we have our kind of eureka moment. Because when he goes to check, it was never a missing painting at all. It was actually a mirror. And the mirror was showing a painting that was on the reverse wall that he wouldn't have seen walking down the corridor. And the painting, which he does mention in the movie, but wasn't pertinent till now, was a bunch of like conjoined faces. It was like a combination of faces in like black and white all together. And actually, so when he walked down the corridor, he saw the reflection of that painting. But there was a person stood in front of that painting, so he actually saw the killer's face without knowing. And also for reference, rewatching the movie, you do see the killer's face. So like if you know, you can see it.
You can see it.
Which is great. And so he realizes who the killer actually was. And it turns out to be Carlo's mother, Martha. And as he backs up, he turns around to see her in the killer's outfit with the hat and the gloves. So she says that Carlo never murdered anybody and was only trying to protect her. And this is where we have a flashback to that original scene at Christmas with the music playing.
Yeah.
We cut to the first scene where Martha's husband is trying to recommit her to an insane asylum. He's trying to recommit her and she doesn't want to go back. And in response to his demand, she murders him while children's music is playing and Carlo watches.
Yeah.
And after this, she walled off the room containing his body, which is what Marcus finds. And scarred by the events, Carlo drew the scene as a child, and as an adult, he represses these memories by drinking, hence why he's drunk all the time.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
And knowing all of this, and Martha attacks Marcus with the same meat cleaver that he used to kill Helga Ullman. And they have a scuffle, and they end up outside the apartment in the sort of lobby where the elevator would be. In their tussle near the elevator, Marcus is able to get her necklace caught on the bars, and then Marcus sends the elevator to go down, which decapitates her by her necklace. And as Marcus stares at his own reflection in the pool of her own blood, the credits start to roll. So that's the movie. What did you think?
I mean, it doesn't sound like it doesn't make sense. I mean, it might just be that you've cut out stuff that makes it not make sense.
There's certainly things that aren't important to plots, but give it charm. The reason why I brought it up at the beginning is one scene. And that's to do with the message on the tile wall, because it's information that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It says it was, but it doesn't say who the killer was.
No. Well, I assumed that she died before she finished it.
Yes, but in that case, why would they have that in the movie? The only thing I can pass with that, I'm assuming this is what it's meant to be, is that it says it was, and it did say the killer's name, but obviously we couldn't learn that because we had to wait until the end to learn it.
Yeah.
So Giordani had learnt it, and was obviously ringing to say, I know who the killer is! It's weird that it's information that doesn't really have as much payoff. It's not brought up later.
Yeah.
And so that's the only one to me that majorly sticks out. The rest of it does link up together. There is motive pretty much all there.
Yeah.
One of the issues I think I have with all of Giallo movies, the ones I've seen, they're very slow for most of the movie, and then I get the impression that by the last sort of 20-30 minutes they're like, oh shit, we spent most of our time in first gear. We need to have all the plot dump at the end, so everything happens in the last 15-20 minutes. All of the plot is explained basically right before the credits roll.
I guess.
This one isn't as bad as other ones. I watched another one before writing the script for this, which it literally does it in all of the plot dump over the credits.
Oh no!
Or the credits have started rolling and they haven't finished talking, and this sometimes has that.
Yeah,
this one not too bad, but not other than that. There's only a couple things I wanted to bring up, which aren't things that's.
I've noticed that your notes say goblin music. Could you please explain why it says that?
Yeah, so that's this movie is made by its music. It has such an effect. So my notes say goblin music.
Yeah.
I'll explain to you what that means. So one of the bands that have worked with Argento for a few of his films was a band called Goblin, which are a German prog rock band that still go now.
Okay. And
they have such a distinct style of music, and the three movies of Argento's that they are used for, Deep Red was the first, the Suspiria, and there was Phenomena, which are personally my three favourites. And they have such a distinct sound and energy to them that the movies would not be the same if the music was different. If they used a different soundtrack, it would not have the same allure and interest, because the music either works so well because of it, or in the sense of the music works perfectly with a scene, or it is such a clash of tone.
Yeah.
It's great sometimes you're this doesn't tonally work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
but that gives its own energy, where a lot of these films almost have a fantastical edge to them. Where if it's a murder mystery and this is meant to be very grounded, everything that's happening could happen and is realistic.
Yeah.
But because of the music, it has almost a fantasy element. It's it's very like twinkly and nice, especially like the children's music.
Yeah.
The second thing I have on there, which adds to that energy of feeling very fairy tale like and weird, is the localization.
Oh yeah.
Partially the copy that I watched, because I have the Arrow one.
Oh yeah.
Basically, the only way to watch my copy was you'd have the language in English, but you'd have to have the subtitles in English on it as well, because I don't know if it's a case of surviving audio, but it would swap from English to Italian mid-conversation.
Oh.
Which, so you would swap voices in the middle of a sentence sometimes.
Yeah, my only assumption with that is that
it's surviving.
That it's whatever audio
surviving
they got hold
media.
Of. Yeah,
basically.
Because Decay would have film Decay would have.
And again, that adds such an energy of like, this feels otherworldly. It's bizarre.
Yeah,
but
seems very strange.
But that's one of the appeals to me. If I'm getting into impressions, I do recommend this. However, I know these films, not just this one, but Giallos and just this stuff.
In general, yeah.
It's not for everyone.
It is quite a niche, isn't it?
It is a niche within a niche. Yeah. If you enjoy watching films from different countries and seeing kind of the culture clash in the sense of how those movies are made, the humour that goes into them, you might get a kick out of this. Yeah. Because that's one of the things that I find enjoyable. I do recommend this, especially if you want to watch something a bit different. If you do like murder mysteries, this is fun. Another thing is how wide-reaching its legacy is. The puppet, that mechanical doll, is apparently what inspired the Billy doll from Saw.
Oh, okay. So Deep Red is one of those movies that has its fingerprints.
It has its fingers in so many pies that you would never even know. Yeah. It's had influence whether you like it or not, and even if you never know it. But the only thing I'll say lastly about it, the prompting for this was because time of recording, I've just been to Rome, which was excellent. However, one of the main things I want to see while I was there was that Dario Argento, I believe in the 70s or 80s, opened a shop in Rome called Profondo Rosso, which is a horror memorabilia shop, which I was fortunate enough to go to, and it was fantastic. I definitely recommend it, especially if you love the films. Or just in general, it's a really good horror pilgrimage, I would almost say. And one of the neat things is that underneath the shop, they have a little sort of exhibition tour of props from his movies. Oh, and there's stuff from Deep Red, so you have the painting that the killer stands in front of is there, and also they have the director chair that was used for Deep Red. So that's just a really neat thing, and that's kind of what prompted to talk about this. So I was excited to do this, basically.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's me, and I'm going to leave it with you about obviously what we're going to talk about next. Where can we find you, Luna? Plug your shit.
Plug my one thing.
Plug your thing.
I'm on DeviantArt. That's it. I'm really on DeviantArt. I don't do anything else. Yeah, as LunaDandy. It'll be in the description. Recently, at time of recording, was Inktober, during which I do a whole bunch of monster designs, one for every day, as you do in Inktober. Those are all free-to-use designs, so if you're working on a project, maybe you're trying to do your own horror movie, low-budget thing. If you want some inspiration for a monster design, give that a look. There might be something fun there that'll help you out. The rest of the time, I'm just doing a webcomic series, but it's Undertale.
Yeah, that's cool.
You with your much longer plug.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram under Dynamite Dandy. I do rubber hose and pop art inspired things. I'm also under another thing on Instagram called Paranoia Prints, which is horror artwork, mainly stickers and art prints, which has that kind of rubber hose and pop art style stuff, but it's a bit more diverse, the kind of things. And then something that isn't necessarily artwork, is more music themed. I'm in a band called News for Parrots. We do ska punk music, originals and covers. We've got CDs out, we've got merch and shit out, so definitely check out our stuff. You can find all music on the places you can find good music, so Spotify and iTunes. And as Luna said, links are going to be in the description, so yeah, definitely check out that kind of stuff. Yeah, we will see you in the next episode. Later, gators.
Bye.